following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
I am back, and you are flying high with me, the Zigzag Man, over the zone in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, in the northern part of California. Not a bad place to live, if I do say so myself. And this is kind of a special show. It is November 2nd, 2017, and it's an anniversary of sort. 6 years ago today, in a casual conversation with my good friend and bud, Suze, I call her, her name is Susie Vincent. We were chatting, and she said, "You like radio, you like sports. Did you ever hear of podcast radio?" And I said, "What? What's podcast radio?" "You know, internet radio." No, never had. Well, to make a long story short, 2 months later, I started my first show on the internet. I'm a podcaster. Have been for 6 years, and I basically owe it to Susie. I'm sure I would have found out about the medium along the way, but she kind of made it easy for me, told me a little bit about what to expect, and I took the bull by the horns, as it were, and dealt with the ups and downs of starting a new venture. And I'm proud to say that, again, I'm celebrating 6 years of doing this. The first 3 years, actually 4 years, was 3.5, let's give it that, was basically me doing a weekly, sometimes a couple of times a week, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, I'd do a podcast. And it was basically, I would fight the unholy trinity, which I consider to be any sort of organized religion and combining with big business and government. The unholy trinity I'd fight them. I'm kind of an activist in a lot of ways, and I'd fight them in a humorous manner, and I still coming up against all the things that are bad. But I also got my jollies in a little bit, if you will. I'm a sports nut, and I got to comment on the sporting world and interview folks. Started out on a small scale, but eventually I was interviewing 2 or 3 people a week who were very significant in the industry of baseball. I started with baseball and talked to players, coaches, fanatical fans, executives, baseball executives, writers, authors, journalists, bloggers, whole bunch of people who were experts, and they're coming back on my show time and time again. I realized I have something going here, and I think I can expand upon it. And February of 2016, I started what is the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. And the way I do it, I produce 16 shows a week, or at least I post and publish on my network 16 new podcasts by folks who post exclusively on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, 9 of which I am personally involved with, producing on air and having a blast doing it. I'd like to read you a list of the people who are associated with Comfortably Zoned and make all this possible. These are folks who have become my extended family. We work together beautifully. They work with each other. They guest on each other's shows. They love what they're doing, and I love being associated with them. And this is in no particular order, not even alphabetical. I'm just going to name some folks that have been part of the family. I'll start with the newest member of the family, Gene Hutmaker, Mark Weiss, Scott Gilpin, Bill Kahatis, I'll pronounce that better, Kashatis, David Nemick, Robert Dinger, Chad Rubin, Lenny Randall, David Hubler, George Case III, Michael Duca, Ian Kahanowitz, Hal Bach, Nancy Finley, Peter Golenbach, Jerry Feidelberg, Patrick Tracy, Mark Littell, Tony D'Angelo, David Finoli, Wayne Unger, Ron Rabinowitz, Peter V. Trunk, Marty Rose, and Alan Blumpkin. These are some fine folks. What they have as a common denominator, they have a passion for what they do in every way, shape, or form. Now I'm going to read you a list of the shows that are currently on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Canna Chat. David Nemick's Old-Time History and Trivia. Dodger Baseball. Past, Present, and Future. A Tale of Two Cities. Giants Baseball. Past, Present, and Future. Genesis with Ian Kahanowitz. Golenbach University. Lenny Randall's Hot Corner. Mark and Mark in the Midday with Mark Weiss and Mark Littell. New York City Baseball with Marty Rose and Robert Denninger. And yours truly. Oakland Sports with Nancy Finley and Jerry Feidelberg. Philadelphia, Philly, hello Philly. How you doing, Philly? Bill Kashatis hosts that one, and it's terrific. It's just one of the newest shows on the network. They're all terrific. I'm excelling about each and every one of them. How about this one? Pittsburgh Sports with David Finoli, I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, Finoli, and Alan Blumpkin. Alan Blumpkin is involved, too, with the David Nemick History Show, and Ian Kahanowitz guests on many of the shows. The Oakland show, he guests on Mark and Mark. He's kind of a jack of all trades on the show as well. Senators, Twins Baseball, George Case Jr., Ronnie Rabinovich, David Hubler. Tony D'Angelo is on a regular basis, and we talk about George Case's dad and the players he played with the old Washington Senators. George Case III being the son of George Case Jr., who was a terrific outfielder and the fastest man in baseball at the time he played. He, just as a personal aside, George has a great insight to those days, and it's a pleasure having him on that show. We have Weighted Donuts, Wayne Unger, Jackson Heights, New York, who has a show entitled after one of his boyhood heroes, Elston Howard, who invented a weighted donut, the actual weighted donuts that players to this day put on their bat when they're warming up. It slides right over it. It's made of metal. It's heavy enough to give the feeling of swinging three bats like players used to do when they warmed up, and then they throw one away and they swing two bats and throw another one away. Well, this is much more convenient. You swing one bat with your normal stroke, and it's heavier once you take the donut off. They call it weighted donuts. The bat seems lighter, and in honor of the late Ellie Howard. Another show we do is Talkin' Vintage Sports from the Old Garden on 49th Street, Nedick's at the Old Garden. Hal Bach Jr., David Hubler guests on that show as well. He's a panelist on that show. Alan Blumpkin, George Case III is on that show all the time. And what we talk about on that show is winter sports, basically, but we don't rule out baseball from back in the day, in the 50s, maybe early 60s, when a bunch of 70-year-olds were growing up. And we all have in common, we spent a lot of time at Madison Square Garden watching sports, watching hockey, watching basketball, talking sports, talking about football, talking about baseball, hanging, talking. It's all we love doing. Hal Bach was a sports writer, 41 years, head baseball writer at the Associated Press. And he gives his memories. We give ours as fans, as David Hubler's an esteemed author. We just, I guess you're starting to see, if you're listening to this, the crust of the matter is it's a bunch of folks talking ball. And we love doing it. We have passion. And I'd like to invite you all to come to the website. It is comfortablyzonedradio.com. And if you will check out the different shows that we have, bookmark the ones you like, share them with your friends, and simply enjoy them. We have a group on Facebook, coincidentally, Comfortably Zoned Radio on Facebook. You can find us, and we talk about the shows. We interact with each other, and our listeners, we talk about the shows that we put up, and we make it a personal thing with the Facebook community. And as I note, we're on iTunes, we're on TuneIn, we're on Stitcher. We can be found in a myriad of places all over the internet, and we reach a lot of folks. We're not yet viral, like to be. Not yet. There's no way of quantifying statistics of how many people do listen. It's like FM radio. It can't be quantified. There's no way to do it. Anybody who tries to put together a bunch of phony statistics for you and make you buy advertising and what have you, you really can't do it. So we stay away from trying to give you an idea of what the exact number of our audience is, because we can't do it, no one can, and we don't pretend to. But we seem to be growing. We're getting an incredible amount of response that's positive, and we're just going to keep doing it, and I wanted to share that with you and ask you again to bookmark the shows you like on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, comfortablyzoneradio.com. That's on the ex-Vice President Gore's internets. He invented that, you know. Maybe not. Maybe not. But I thank you for listening. I want to implore you, if you're out there, to stay healthy, stay well, keep on keeping on, and come back again. Thank you very much. I'm Ralph Tyko, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Adios, everybody.